Okay, the hour being 9:33, I'd like to call to order the CalHFA Audit Committee. Why don't we start with a roll call?
Mr. Gunning?
Here.
Mr. A.G. for Treasurer Ma?
Here.
Ms. Sotelo? Here. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Awesome, thank you and welcome. Guys, thanks for coming in early. You know, the audit committee's supposed to meet twice a year. We've had a couple challenges with getting information from STRS, which we're here in the building, oddly enough, but I know that it has been difficult, but when we do meet, it's important because as the people that are in charge of making sure there's no fraud and looking out for the financial well-being of the agency, that's our role. I am looking forward to hearing from IT, because I have to share that it's been difficult getting my email through Outlook. You guys make it so tough, but I know there's been a lot of upgoings on with that, so certainly look forward to that. With that, moving to item 3, were there any comments about the minutes or edits to the minutes?
No, I move approval of the minutes, if you need a motion.
Well, I think unless Mr. Agee says he has something, we could
Okay.
do it by acclamation.
Great.
All right, I deem the minutes approved then. Okay, since I talked about it, move on to item number 4. Let's get an update on information security assets, IT. Congratulations, I hear you got a new assistant.
Yes, thank you. Hello. All right, good morning. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I'm the Chief Information Officer and the Director of Information Technology. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all about some of our information security updates. Although we must comply with many mandatory state assessments and audits, we spend quite a bit of time and resources to do so. Our information security program is not just about written policies and documentation, or even incident handling guidelines, but more importantly, it is a program to help ensure that a data breach, whether intentional or not, does not occur. Now today I will provide you a brief update on the 2019 accomplishments and the upcoming projects for security in 2020. So the first up, we're going to talk about the nationwide cybersecurity review, NCSR. This was conducted in October of 2019. So the CalHFA successfully completed its NCSR's voluntary self-assessment for 2019. This assessment is designed to evaluate the cybersecurity management of an entity. The results for 2019 are being processed as far as what our number is, but the following are our scores for the past assessment. So if you look at our scores, we have matured since 2015 through 2018, and we expect that score to go up for 2019 as well. So our maturity score, if you look at the industry standard, it's at 5.66. So we're going to talk about AB 670. We partnered with our auditors, Clifton Larson Allen, to conduct our independent security assessment this past spring. The Independent Security Assessment ISA, or AB 670, is required by California Government Code and is an assistant visit, not an audit. The goal of this assessment is to provide a third-party view of CalHFA's cybersecurity state and provide recommendations for improvement. The assessment analyzes a series of technical controls as designed by the California Office of Information Security. These controls change over each iteration of assessment. All state entities are subjected to this assessment every 2 years. the California Military Department is the recommended and preferred third party to conduct this assessment. However, there is an exemption process in place to seek other third-party entities to conduct this assessment. So, why do we need it? So it is, first and foremost, it's a requirement for the state of California, and the Office of Information Security, as mentioned earlier on, assist in mandating this assessment. Another reason is that cybersecurity attacks are on the rise, and performing these assessments always assists CalHFA in protecting its own information assets from cyber threats. Now, how is our assessment carried out? Now, these assessments are done in 3 phases. The first phase is the internal vulnerability assessment. The internal vulnerability assessment, these are internal scans of our network, and it also includes the phishing test. A phishing test or email phishing is defined as any type of an email-based social engineering attack. This happens to be the favored method by cybercriminals and nation-state actors to deliver malware and carry out malicious computer attacks. The second phase is the external penetration testing, and this is an authorized simulated attack on our computer system performed to evaluate the cybersecurity of our systems. And the last phase is the web application testing, and this is an automated means of determining deficiencies by crawling the website to discover potential vulnerabilities and reporting those results. So we'll have hackers actually going and planting in codes into the lines to find out the vulnerabilities. Now, in our case, it was an ethical hacker, so we authorized them to do it.
Oxymoron.
So what does this get us? So after the assessment is completed, at the end of the assessment, CalHFA is provided with a detailed report stating all the observations on the control objectives. There were a total of 32 control objectives in 2019 assessment. The overall rating for each of these established control objectives were based on 3 rating factors. So I stands for implemented, that means the controls were in place. P, the controls were partially in place. And not implemented means those controls were not in place. So if you look at our numbers, 13 of them we have a remediation plan on. So we used the report to create a remediation plan for 13 items, and each of the items have a timeline as to when to have those deficiencies completed. So my staff has been meeting on a regular basis to get these observations remediated. This is the fun stuff. Mobile device management, MDM. So MDM is a software that allows IT administrators to secure and enforce policies on agency-provided smartphones, tablets, and other endpoints. MDM optimizes the functionality and the security of mobile devices within the enterprise, and at the same time protecting our agency network. Why did we do this at CalHFA? Now, as technology evolves, we can access data from everywhere. This allows us to be more productive. However, it increases the likelihood of your data getting stolen, destroyed, or changed by cybercriminals. Having an MDM solution limits that risk and allows us to protect our electronic resources better. Alongside MDM, we also implemented a 2-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Now, what is this? Multi-factor authentication means that you need more than one credential to log into systems, applications, or other digital assets. Now, at CalHFA, we implemented multi-factor authentication to all our remote users. So if you're connecting from outside, you need a second factor to come in. Now back to multi-factor authentication, sometimes referred to as 2-factor authentication or 2FA. These generally requires one credential to be something you know, such as your username or password, and then the other credential of something you have, such as a code on your phone, to come into our system. Now, why did we do this? One of the leading causes of a data breach is compromised credentials. Multi-factor authentication adds a layer of security that allows CalHFA users to provide extra information of factors when they access our applications, networks, and servers remotely. So we also implemented some security measures. So for OWA, which is our Outlook web access, we have implemented a USA access only rule. What that means is this rule prevents unwanted parties from attempting to log in to CalHFA email accounts, creating user lockout issues. The users of our mail.calhfa.ca.gov, which is our way of coming in electronically to get your mails, is only accessible within USA. So if you're traveling outside of USA, please talk to us.
And if you're checking email while you're traveling,
What's wrong with you?
talk to me.
Thank you.
IT also migrated the native iOS app. So when you have an Apple iPhone, the Active Sync was used to sync agency emails to the iPhones. So what we did is we took that native connection off, and we are providing our end users the right way, or the preferred Microsoft's method of doing this, which is putting the app, Microsoft's Outlook app, on the phones and having your emails on that. It adds up more functionality and more security to it. So we're in the process of doing that.
But it's not functional. Like opening a document is difficult now because you have to save it. It saves it to the CalHFA account. It doesn't just open up. So,
You could download.
or you save it to copy it to Word now is how you have to open a document.
We can look into it. We made some enhancements and changes, so we can look into it.
Functionality, it's an additional step you've added.
So, yes, the applications, if you just want to open it and save documents, when we rolled it out, there were initial challenges with functionality, so those has improved over time. But we can look at
Yeah, I'll show it
that
to
scenario,
you.
yeah. So let's talk about 2020, what's coming up for security in 2020. So I want to talk about the SSAE 18, tongue twister here. The SSAE 18 is a short name for Statement on Standards for Attestation Engagements number 18. The attestation standards establish requirements and provide application guidance to auditors performing and reporting on examinations, review, and upon agreed procedures and engagements, which includes the Service Organizational Controls, which is SOC attestation. Now for CalHFA is SSAE 18 SOC 1 attested. This attestation was conducted in 2017, and we are looking forward for the second round of engagements. We have seen the value of this attestation as we have leveraged our reports for other IT audits and requirements. This has saved our staff time and effort that would have gone towards preparing and conducting those additional audits and requirements. We were also recognized at the NCSHA annual conference as being one of the very few HFAs attaining this attestation. I had a pleasure of speaking at the conference regarding our attestation and the value this brings to our organization. This presentation was well received and sparked some interest from other HFAs to partner with us regarding knowledge, technology, and resource sharing.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
attestation?
Attestation.
What does that mean?
So there's a difference between a attestation and a audit, like a compliance certification. Attestation is someone coming out and saying that you have controls in place and we have seen your controls, but they're not performing the testing on that and stating that you are compliant to a standard. So if we say at CalHFA, we said that we have NIST controls in place, or we have a framework that we're following, the auditor would come and look at that framework and look at our policies and procedures and say that, attest to that, that you have those in place.
Got it.
We're also looking to implement a security information and events management system in place. A SIM is defined as a group of complex technologies that together provide a bird's eye view of an infrastructure. It provides centralized security event management, correlation and normalization for content, and alerting and reporting on all the ingested data. It can take in data from virtually any vendor or in-house application. So in short term, a SIM collects security data from network devices, servers, endpoints, and more. So what that basically means is we have different systems in place. We have a firewall in place, or we have an intrusion detection system in place, and each system keeps its own log in its own area. What a SIM does is it gathers all that information in one place, so it makes it easier for staff to look at those logs. And they don't have to look for 3 different logs in 3 different systems. So it saves time and effort. The other area we'll also be looking at in 2020 is around information security training options. Now, we believe that training our users is one of the most important security measures we can take. Not only does learning content help protect CalHFA data, it builds knowledge and will protect our users at home as well. We are looking to see if we can provide information security training differently, allowing different options for end users to get trained, while still leveraging our current security vendor. Now, these are very high-level initiatives that we are working on at CalHFA for 2020. And with that, thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions now.
I have a couple of questions.
Go.
So congratulations. It is. I'll just get a little closer. So congratulations on the improved rating
thank
since
you.
2015. It seems like a market improvement. Can you talk to us a little bit about the budget implications of improving our security systems and making them more efficient? And do we expect a rise in that number, or, you know, kind of a tapering off of that number?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So one of the things that we have done, and if you talk to Don, is if you look at our budget numbers for IT, it has exponentially gone up this past year. Next year, I do expect the number to go down a little bit because we did implement a lot of new technologies this year, which has helped in that remediation of that number. But we have, so this the scores and with the different audits that we have had in place has been going, the planning has been happening for the past couple of years, which has really geared up to have those budget numbers kind of rank up those budget numbers now. So I see for next year, I'll see those numbers kind of going down a little bit. I don't have the exact percentages for you, but I do see that going down. But this past year, IT budget went up, quite a
Yeah.
bit, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think we made a concerted decision this year, and when we went through the budget process with you guys, and I think one of the biggest increases was in our technology budget, because we were making some investments to upgrade things that hadn't been done in quite some time. So
Right.
that should help us for a period of time before we again need to, modernize some more and upgrade, so.
And as a related question to that, your 13-point implementation plan for improvement on some of the, the areas that you need to, look at from security perspective, are those incorporated in what your budget seems to be? Is that something that the implementation plan is going to happen over the course of the year, or is that going to take a couple more years to implement?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very good example. So yes, so most of our budget dollars are in line with that. The areas that we are not meeting compliance, the 3 areas that they identified us as not meeting compliance, it's not that we're not meeting compliance in those areas. The standard is, let's say, I'll give you an example. The updates on this computer needs to have 300 controls in place. Microsoft recommends 300 controls. We are doing 99 of those.
Oh.
And the guideline is that if you're doing less than 100, you're not meeting standards. So I think there is an effort in place. So one of the things that we have done is we have upgraded all our computers to Dells. So that will remediate that issue. So we put the money in the budgets to account for that. And likewise, there are other controls we're working on. So we're hoping that by next year or in 2 years when we're having that audit again, that end is going to go away.
Okay, well, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Good. Giovanni, any questions? Great, thank you very much. Very informative.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I know we got a little bit of a time constraint here, so let's go ahead and move on to update on the audit. Lori, are you going to do that? Madam Controller, Comptroller.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Audit Chair Gunning and members of the Audit Committee. I'm Lori Hamahashi, the Comptroller of the agency, and seated next to me is Kate Ferguson, our Multifamily Programs Director. For agenda item number 5, which is titled Update on Audit, we have 2 items to discuss today. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that our auditors, Clifton Larson Allen, they have performed our interim audit procedures in July, and in September, they completed their final audit procedures. So as a result of that, we do have one outstanding item, and this is affecting the timing of the completion of this year's audit. Each year, we must wait to receive 2 reports from external parties. The first report identifies the agency's housing finance fund's share of the state's overall net pension liability. This report was received in early November, and we are set to record all the entries and do all the disclosures. For the second report, however, which identifies the agency's housing finance fund's share of the state's overall net other post-employment benefits liability, that report is not ready yet. In our latest communication with the State Controller's Office, they do not expect to release this report until late December.
Wow.
Which will push our audit out and push our completion of this year's CAFR and PAFR out as well. And so that is the holdup with this year's, and usually we spend the time right now discussing the final, audit results. So before we move to the next discussion item, does anyone have any questions?
I guess it's nothing we could do, right? I mean, we're dependent upon other agencies to provide the data, so we're stuck.
Right, and they're dependent upon the completion of the
Year-end.
audit with the California State Auditor.
Yeah, that was kind of my question, because there's a couple other committees that I sit on where we're unable to move forward with certain deliverables because of delays of the State Controller's Office. So it's starting to become, just this week for me, at least 3 consistent
come up.
items. And so love to kind of hear from the Controller's Office what's actually going on.
Okay. So the second item for discussion that's being brought to the Audit Committee's attention is that we do have a draft copy of this year's single audit of the federal programs. And this year's report does contain a draft finding under the Section 8 Housing Assistance Payment Program. Since the final report will not be available until a later date, sometime next year, we thought we'd bring it to your attention, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kate, and she's going to explain the circumstances around the finding.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gunning and members of the Audit Committee. We did have a situation where CalHFA monitors HAP contracts, and we do the replacement reserve disbursements for those contracts. And we had an employee who authorized a draw from a replacement reserve account without receipt of the appropriate HUD approvals, which was outside of our protocol for doing these draws. This deviation from our protocol was noted by the auditors, and we immediately put into place quality control conditions so that to avoid this ever happening again. I do believe that the conditions that we put into place, which include every asset management employee will ensure that the owner agent has included an approved HUD form 9250. This is supposed to come from the owner agent of the property and generally is included in the packet, and in this case was not included in the packet, and so that was where the finding came from. So they will ensure that the owner agent includes an approved HUD form 9250 in any submitted request for a disbursement from the replacement reserve account. And added to our regular protocol, we've placed a quality control measure that fiscal services will ensure that the approved HUD form 9250, again, is included in the final approval package prior to disbursement of any funds. And that is a new quality control process that we have put into place that we feel will alleviate any chance that this will happen in the future. And that's primarily, we've already instituted that. We immediately instituted it when we had these conversations with our auditors. So I'm happy to take any questions about it, but that was the finding.
Kate, I know you're new here, but Delilah and I have seen this too many times, and I know she's going to comment on this. We thought we got over the hump with this last year. We had a clean audit, but here it is back again. So I would share with you that this is of high importance to this committee, and that I'm glad the steps are in place. But I think even Tia said we got to stop this. So.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Okay.
And we've spent a great deal of time re-reviewing the protocol and ensuring that we do have the quality control measures in place. And I hope to never be here reporting this again.
May I ask, Chairman?
Yes.
Can you kind of give me the broad context of the program? How many loans do we monitor? Or how many, borrowers do we have relationships with? And how big is the program itself? And
I don't have all that detail
Okay.
with me today, but I'd be happy to follow up with that.
yeah,
Please, I think
Yes.
we'd all like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
sir, I'd be happy to do that.
That's a great thought, an
Yeah.
update, just so we know, looking at next year.
yeah, and maybe we do it not in the context of the audit committee, but maybe we do it in the context of the regular board.
I'd be happy to report on
Yeah.
that, yes.
And update the board.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so. That might be the
Yeah.
best way to do it.
Great. Lori, have anything to add on that?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Awesome. Joanne, okay. All right, in the interest of time, I know we've got the regular meeting starting in a minute. Item number 6, annual review of the committee charter. We're scheduled to do 2 meetings a year, and because of the data Lori described, we often get pushed out. But I think we should still keep it at 2 meetings, so unless anyone has a thought, let's keep it there.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Great. At this time, I'd entertain comments from the public. Anyone from the public like to comment? Any questions from the board members?
None.
No,
Seeing that, we're adjourned.
great. Thanks.